Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the people. I am your host, Christopher Keith. Thanks for joining us. Rate us, review us. Let us know how you feel about the show, comment, and all that good stuff. Subscribe, and we appreciate you. Today, we have a very special guest, actually one that's been with us many times before, our returning champion, Shonte Young. She is here to discuss something with you that she wanted to talk to me about, so we'll get to that in a minute. But before, as you know, she is our sponsor at Queso Whaat.
So what?
And so before we get started, man, there's some exciting news that you have for us, the viewers, and your many fans of your eatery. So break it down. Let it be broke. What's going on?
So what? In 105 days, I'll be retiring from my job to pursue this awesome food truck venture. It is being built as we speak. I got plumbing stuff in the floor over here now. It'll be coming together, so it should be done by late fall. And we plan to do the soft opening between January and March just to work out the kinks going hither and your. And it's going to be wintertime. Just working out the kinks, making sure everything works, everything is good. And I'm really excited. We also have some new products that
we got some new choices.
We do. Some new ones that are here, and a couple more coming down the pipeline. So I asked people for suggestions, and I stated if I picked yours, that you can have one free quesadilla a month for a year. And my nephew Chris picked this chicken bacon ranch, which is a fried chicken with bacon and my homemade ranch on it. And so it sells really well. I didn't know chicken bacon ranch was a thing. And then I had a couple of folks that suggested that I do some sort of Mexican quesadilla. And so I am doing queso birria, which is the marinated beef that you put in the consomme and all that. It's a huge thing in St. Louis. I'm not sure if it is in other areas, but it's a really big seller. And then I have the queso shrimp fajita, and it is shrimp with the colored peppers and onions and the 5 kinds of cheeses. And that one went through the roof. I've been testing a dessert, and so I will be doing a couple of iterations of a dessert here and there. So we're going to see which ones pop, which ones don't. And finally, I am now regularly infusing my quesadillas.
Say that again.
I'm infusing them with the good stuff. If you puff pass, you're going to eat, pass out.
Bite pass.
They say only eat a piece, because if you eat more than that, you're going to be on the couch for the rest of the day. So maybe you buy 2, and for a small upcharge, you can get them infused. They're not cooked on the same griddle. They're cooked on a different griddle. But yeah, it's about 25 to 30% THC, which is like a lot. And I'm adjusting. So yeah, there's that. So we have a pop-up this weekend. Go to www.quesowhaat.com or text your order to 314-341-7734. And I thank you so much, Chris, for having me on here. Queso Whaat.
Yeah, man. So next time I'm there, I may or may not try one of the infused ones.
You never know whether it is or not. If you stuck on the couch, then you'll have an idea.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, normally I test the product when I'm there. It's an easy
somebody got to test it.
Yeah, it's an easy way to get fed. It's an easy way to get fed. You know what I'm saying? I'll pretend like I'm a potential customer.
Yeah, I ain't never had that before.
Yeah, act like I really need to inspect this stuff, but
I like.
Yeah, she probably really knows what time it is. It's all good. But yo, man, so thanks for being on with us. That's our sponsor. She's doing great things, as you just heard. She's actually retiring from her job with the government.
105 days, people.
Yes.
Counting meetings, people, but I'm not really counting in real life.
Oh, of course you're not. But I'm really, look, just on a side note, I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to be an investor into the
brand
venture as well. Yeah, it's just a really awesome thing. And so yeah, go. I appreciate that. So So the reason why Shonte wanted to be on here with us is she sent me an article a couple Sundays ago, I guess Sunday before last, and it was from a woman named Sasha Weiss. She's an editor, and she does a lot of pop culture stuff. And so she wrote this piece on Prince, and specifically a documentary on Prince from Ezra Edelman. If you hip to him, he's did the OJ documentary. I'm a big fan of documentaries. I love storytelling and people's stories, and he's one of the best that I've ever seen. He's right there with Ken Burns, but it's a difference than Ken Burns. Like Shante and I were talking about how he just manages to humanize his subjects. So so she sent me this article about Prince that Sasha had written, and she happened to see this 9-part documentary from Edelman regarding his life. It was really kind of shook me, to be honest with you. When she said it to me, I stopped what I was doing. I was watching football. I stopped what I was doing, and there's actually a link to where you can listen to the article as well as read it. So I sat there and listened to it and read it at the same time. It took almost an hour, and I was really shook by it because it talked about a lot of his life, man, things that we just didn't know about. And the way she labeled the post was just to say that, hey, this is why we need to exercise our demons, because you just never know what, people going through and stuff like that. And if you hold all that stuff in, it could just really be destructive. So from there, I was like, wow. I told her, I said, wow, I just got through exercising demons myself. And I was going to talk about it over pod. And she said, yo, can I do this with you? And yeah, why not? So she don't even know what it is, but she's also familiar with the Ezra document with OJ. And man, and so, this is a brother that's doing great things in these documentary streets. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you know and what you got out of the OJ documentary?
Oh, so with that, and I don't watch TV, y'all. And so sometimes when I'm in the middle of something, I'll binge watch something. And that was one that I binge watched a few months ago. I know it had been out for a while. And like I said, he tends to humanize people, because whether you think OJ did it or not, no matter how you feel about OJ, to have this look into his life from birth to childhood, this whole struggle that he had during the time that he came up in fitting in. Like, even he wasn't black enough, even though he was dark skinned, he wasn't white enough. He just had the hardest time dealing with people. And he really, I don't even know if he had social anxiety initially. It seemed like he was just really struggling fitting in somewhere. And then once he became OJ, it fed something in him, probably his demons, that made him then become the OJ that ended up being who he was. And I found it very interesting, the whole, from beginning to end. Like, you watch it, and even though you judged him before, you start to look at him in a different light, because we're all human and we all fall short. We all have fallacies, and we all have something that shakes us to our core at some point in our lives. Sometimes our childhood traumas spill over into our adult life. Sometimes something traumatizing happens one time that then kind of changes the trajectory of how you move. And so I found it just really, really interesting how he was able to make OJ, like, damn, people almost feel sorry for him, and not understand why he did it, because we all make decisions, but then understand the place, the mindset that he may have been in if he did it. So yeah, I was really taken by that. So the Prince documentary actually got greenlit like 4 years ago. So he's been working. It was greenlit by the estate. So they opened up the vault. They opened up everything. The people were sat down and talked to him. Some of them, according to the article, were just real hesitant, because they were so still fiercely protective of Prince and his legacy and that sort of thing. And that's the impact that he had on people, that they loved him enough to protect him in spite of his fallacies. I hope I got the kind of people in my life. But at the same time, now the estate is upset because they feel like it's painting him in a bad light. And the things that she described in the article really are just shit that happens when you're human, when you're growing up, when you've had the childhood that he had, and even when he died and how he died, and he was a drug addict. I never looked at him to be a drug addict. I looked at him to be someone who was in pain, who then made bad choices because they're in pain. And opiates will change how you move. It never stopped him from doing anything, but it caused him to take drugs that maybe that weren't prescribed to him, and that sort of thing. That's a human thing. Everybody got somebody in their family that buy Percocets. Let's not lie. I mean, we do. Mm-hmm. And so I never felt any kind of way. I've never thought of him to be a drug addict or anything like that. And even with this, people thinking it's going to kill his image. And to me, it humanized him. It made me understand why he was such a perfectionist, why he struggled to maintain relationships, all of these things, why he struggled with religion. I mean, this takes you on this journey to see, oh, okay. And I think a lot of people always want to fake the funk. And I tell people this in political consulting. And I was saying this about Uncle Shay Shay. Because if you got some shit that happens to you, lean into that shit. Lean into it. Stop trying to act like everything is so perfect and I'm professional and I'm wonderful and life is great. We all got shit. And if something happens that is embarrassing or something happens that is traumatizing, go through it. And that's what therapy, I guess, teaches us. Go through it, lean into it. Yeah, my bad. I'm a different person. And lean into that. Stop trying to make Prince seem like he was just the most perfect motherfucker on the planet. Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't have 2-3 wives. He wouldn't have gone through the things, the questionable things that come up that everybody want to keep hush hush. He was human. And let's stop putting people on such a pedestal that when they got one little small thing, you think, oh, that's the end of everything. And it's really not. So I'm just really curious to know what yours is.
Okay, so before we get to that, what you said about OJ and Edelman's approach, when I watched that documentary, OJ Made in America, and then I'll get to Prince, and I mention it because this is Edelman's style. So this is why this documentary is going to be really important. There are times, growing up, that I remember when OJ was in the commercials and stuff like that, I was kind of benign on him for real.
Running through the airport.
Yeah, running through the airport, hurts and whatnot. But there were times watching that documentary where I loved OJ, where I laughed at OJ, where I despised OJ, where I laughed at him and with him. And so again, humanity. So the reason why the Prince documentary shook me is because I had already read different articles. I read Morris Day's book. I read other people's books who've been with Prince and heard Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis talk for years, and just about how complicated he could be, specifically with the time, how he would pump them up but then try to break them down. How he would promise them concert dates and then they'd be really doing the damn thing on stage, and then he'd be like, yeah, I'll take it too much shade for me, so he'd kick them off. You know what I mean? So I saw all these things before, and at the same time, like Morris would say, before he died, he was like, he called me one day and we were talking, then he ended it. He was like, hey, I love you, brother. And he was like, because he had never told him that before. So I agree with you. Even like when you look at a lot of our specifically Black heroes, we tend to deify them. And I think that is such we deify them because we just want to protect every little piece of what we have. But I just think it's a disservice.
It is.
I used to think my mother was a superhero. When I was growing up, I thought she knew everything. I thought my father knew everything. I just thought once you get to a certain age, you know it, you got it. And it wasn't until she began to share with me, her life as a human, and her shortcomings, her downfalls, her doubts, the times she was scared, the time she made crappy decisions, that it really, I'm like, wow, you really are a superhero, because I saw the humanity in her, and then I related it back to myself. So I knew, okay, well, I'm not a total idiot after all. You know what I mean? My mother, who I look up to, and all but worship, was also human and went through stuff too. She was still trying to figure it out. So that's what I came away with the Prince thing. That's how I felt about it. I was shook because I had not seen that much of the pain and conflict. There was one particular instance that I'll get into, and this is in the New York Times. If you want to check it out, it's very well worth it. I recommend anybody who is a Prince fan, who's a fan of humanity, to check it out.
You should drop the link too in it so that people can give it a look see. Because
yeah, I'll put it in the title of the page so you'll be able to see it. But yeah, one of the things that hit me was when they were doing this Purple Rain thing, and one of his band leaders, one of his bandmates rather, I think it was Alan Leeds, they were in the limo together, and Alan said, "Hey man, this is going to be the biggest moment of your life." And he said that Prince grabbed his hand for like 10 seconds, and he was shaking and was just really super nervous. And then all of a sudden, after like 10 seconds, it was like, bing, he like changed and turned into this other person,
and you see that like in the article when they talk about his childhood, all of it makes sense to me now. Yes. When you look at his childhood being locked in a closet, and being treated the way that he was and bounced around, and you see he never let anybody get close to him. And then as soon as you did anything, he shut you out and won't ever speak to you no more or call you 10 years later. And that's what humanizes it, because now you know why. If they, I wish they would really let this out, because now you know why. And I don't think it'll do anything to his legacy, but make it better.
I agree. So like I said, I was going to talk about my own demons and whatnot. And so for that part, I'm just going to turn it over to Shonte, because she said she wanted to ask me questions about it. Again, you guys know me. I'm actually not the one to not want to show my humanity. I may show a little too much humanity from time to time, but I just believe it's important to share, because why not? That's part of my life. And if it could help somebody else, then great.
Exactly. So now you got to tell me what it is for me to ask questions.
All right, cool. Okay, so some of you who are close to me know that I lived in South Bend, Indiana for 6 years. So basically, you might have heard some of this before on a previous pod, but if you haven't, you haven't. Here we go. So my parents divorced in like 74. In 75, we were living in the projects in East St. Louis, a little place called The Hole, right across the street from Lily Freeman Elementary School. And so my mom started dating this guy named Larry. I started seeing each other, and he was from out of town. He was from South Bend, Indiana. And he seemed like a nice guy. And, again, I was the kind of kid that was kind of benign. Like if my mom liked it, I was good with it. You know what I mean? I was a very easygoing, laid back kid. And so I remember him really being nice and stuff and bringing little gifts and toys and stuff over and stuff like that. I was 8 years old. And at one point, my mom came to me and was like, "Hey, do you, mind if we move out of town?" And again, I was like, kind of like, if I'm with my mother, then I'm good. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what Indiana was. I didn't know what South Bend was. I'm like, okay, cool, So we moved, she got married to him, we moved. And I could just say from 75 to 81 into that time, that 6 years for me, was hell. It was 6 years of being told what I'm not, 6 years of being called names, 6 years of being put down. This man really destroyed, he really destroyed my psyche, my confidence. Okay. It's some of the most important developmental times of my life. He had all daughters, naturally. He didn't have any sons. And so it seemed like he just wanted to make me into something that he thought I should be. He was a cop. He was a really big time, one of them manly men, if you will, you know what I mean? Had a bunch of guns all over the house, and he used to make little hollow point bullets at the kitchen table and stuff like that. Like he was, and so we would go, like, say for instance, we go to the shooting range, and be like, hey, I want you to shoot the gun, blah, blah, blah. He gave me a 22 rifle. I think I remember having it in my closet. And we would just sit there. He's like, we're going to sit here until you hit the target. It'd be some can 200-300 yards away. And, I'd miss. I might have hit it one time, you know what I mean? But all he did was just put me down, you know what I mean? So he buy a punching bag, hit this punching bag, you got to fight, you got to know how to fight, blah, blah, One funny thing that kind of happened was this one kid was picking on me named James Gunn. He was a little short dude, man. He was a little bit of a bit, but he was not a little bit. He was a bully, and he used to have these Doberman pictures and stuff. So James he lived around the corner from me and chased me home a couple times. And so Larry was like, yeah, you're gonna beat his ass, So we went outside, he gave me a belt. This guy gave me a belt.
Damn, Larry.
Yeah. He gave me a belt. I went down to the corner where I could see James's house. He could see me. So he came outside. He starts walking down the street, and I'm just standing there with his belt. And when he gets close to me, Larry jumps out of the bushes and goes, kick his ass, whoop his ass.
Did you whoop his ass?
No, the boys took off and ran back to but he never bothered me again. But anyway, so no, man, he just used to always put this extra, toxic, super macho, thing on me. And, I was a sensitive kid, you know what I mean? So, I had feelings and stuff like that. And so he would just always, try to toughen me up, if you will, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Without any validation, whatsoever. So we went through this for a few years. I used to tell my mom about it and stuff. Couldn't wait to, go out of town for summer break and stuff like that. I had a couple dogs, a couple Chihuahuas. We had a lot of dogs, but toward the end, I had a couple Chihuahuas and Crybaby and Brownie. And, one year I went to Pennsylvania like I normally would for summer, came back, and Crybaby was gone. Mm-hmm. The next year, did same thing, and Brownie was gone. So Larry was saying they ran away, which I knew, I knew that was a lie, because them dogs, first of all, they were inseparable. They didn't go pee or nothing without the other, and I remember when Crybaby left, Brownie just sat there for months, just sad, all the time. So, and then next thing again, he was gone. I think the last straw was, this was in 1981, I believe. Yeah, it was 1981 in springtime. We had this, decent little house, and we had a nice, well manicured lawn. He really took a lot of pride in this lawn. So, but I'm outside cutting the grass, and we had a raggedy lawnmower. I do remember that. And the lawnmower just stopped. So, trying to start it up, it had gas in it and everything, all was fine, but it wouldn't start up. So I said, I had to call him Daddy, which I didn't like. I was like, Daddy, the lawnmower, broke. But you do the lawnmower, God damn it, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I didn't do nothing to it. I was just pushing it, But, so he just gave me the business, cussed me out about the lawnmower. So, I'm upset, and he left. I called my mother at work. I'm like, yo, Mama, Daddy cussed me out about the lawnmower. And so, I don't remember what she said about it. She never really just straight took his side, but she never really stuck up for me either. It was kind of like, okay. I guess sometimes maybe parents, they talked amongst themselves, but they didn't really tell you what they was going to say, which is fine. Right. So he came back home and he was like, yeah, talk to your mama. She told me you called her and talked to her. You told her I cussed you out about the lawnmower. That's what's wrong with you. You're a little pussy. That's why you ain't gonna never be nothing. So
and that shit. That's that bullshit right there.
That's that bullshit.
That's that bullshit. It's that bullshit that he went through. That's that bullshit that defines you, that works with you for your life. Was he abusive, like physically, or?
He was not abusive physically to me. It was all words. It was all words and threats and intimidation. Now, he was, well, I guess my sister won't mind me saying this, but he was physically abusive to my sister.
To women?
but to my sister in particular, because at one time he spanked her while she was naked. And another time he took her over his friend James' house and showed her pornographic materials. And so I remember when this happened, I was able to put two and two together because one time I came home from being outside and I saw my mom, Larry, and Darcel sitting at the kitchen table talking. It was real quiet. You know how you walk in the room and it's kind of like, oh,
everybody stop talking.
and this was the only time I ever seen him looking like a little child. You know what I mean? Because again, he was a bull in a china shop every other day. This is one time I seen him looking all helpless and shit, you know. But yeah, he was a holy terror. You know, just to add to that, well, I'll get to that later. So after he called me a pussy, you know, and told me I wasn't gonna be shit, I decided that I was next time I go to Pennsylvania, I'm not coming back. So I planned to live with my grandmother, you know, because my grandmother and grandfather, you know, both of them since passed. But me and Darcel was talking about this after my grandfather passed, that being there was the safest both of us ever felt.
Oh, wow.
Children, the safest. Because they just really looked after us and just treated us like we were theirs, you know?
Like children.
Yeah, like children, like we were loved, you know, and protected. We were protected, mentally and physically protected. We were safe. We were in a safe space. Excuse me. So I decided, you know, okay, I'm gonna go. I went for the summer like I always did in July. I left my albums. I left my artwork. I left my model cars. I left my stereo. I don't know if I just said that or not. And you know, whatever clothes I didn't take with me for the summer, I left it all. All of my little possessions, things that I had worked on for years that I really cared about, I left it all. And I asked my grandmother if I could stay with her, and she was like, "No, I don't really want to raise no more kids. Ask your father." My father, natural father at the time, you know, those 6 years I was in Indiana, he wrote me one letter. 6 years, put $5 in it. My stepfather never missed the opportunity to tell me how my father wasn't shit and how he was doing everything for me instead of him.
That's why you ain't shit. Your daddy is.
Right. And even, you know, so even my father, he took me on. But I think when I look back at him, he took me on because he thought he had to.
Because he did.
Yeah, he did. He had to.
He didn't have to think. He did.
Yeah. But I was really kind of cramping his style the whole time, if you know what I'm saying. You know, because he wasn't really stable himself.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's like the times when we became homeless and stuff like that. You know, we either was staying in a really nice apartment somewhere, or we be staying with somebody, or we be on the street. You know, it was just one of them three. And so we had a hard time getting along too, you know, because he didn't have his own father in his life. His mother
didn't know how to parent.
He did not know how to parent. And in addition, you know, I mean, it's the kind of thing, I mean, it's all complicated. It's all human, like you said, right? It's all human. So, like, say, for instance, when I asked him one time when I was visiting St. Louis, and I was like, "Yo, Daddy, why you never check on us? Why you never check on me?" And stuff like that. And he was like, "Well, I just thought y'all was all right." You know? Now, when I got grown and my mother started telling me about stuff that was really going on, she was like, "Nah," he was like, "You got another nigga, let him take care of." You know what I'm saying?
So that's him thinking y'all all right.
Yeah. Well, you know, but he told, you know, he went from telling my mama, "Ain't nobody gonna want you." You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna want you and these two kids, you know, to, well, let that nigga take care of my kids. You know what I'm saying?
That's his coping mechanism from not having a father.
Yeah.
See how these traumas are passed on?
They just passed down. So in my father's defense, his mother told him that his mother, who I used to go see in Pennsylvania every year, who really protected us, told him that his father died when he was 2. However, when my father died on October 26, 1996, when we had his funeral, I met a guy named Larry McCaleb who was living in East St. Louis, who I had never met before, who said he was my father's brother and that their father was living in Shiglock, Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
Right. So he went all this time thinking that his father was dead, I suppose. But again, just never, ever talked about the stuff. Yeah. And so even when I was an adult, my father was type that, like we talked about when you and Cornell and the kids came over for the fights. Well, that was a time when I would always know I was going to see my daddy when there was a fight coming on. Because he'd be like, hey, son, where you watching the fight? You know what I mean? He was kind of good at getting a hookup like that. If I was going to buy the fight, you know what I'm saying? Or he was going to go with me. So yeah, man. So that's in his defense. I don't have any issues with my dad anymore, so we good on that. So yeah, man. So basically when I left South Bend, let's face it, I ran away. Okay. I started off with shit. And I was basically raising myself because, again, my father basically just, hey, this is what it was. He dropped me off at school, at Lincoln High School. I went. After that, I go over to the south end of my cousin's house, the Fields. And then I'd be there till like 8:30, 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? When he picked me up, no matter where we live, we use my cousin's address, 2020 Trinley. And that's how I stayed at Lincoln for those, 3 years after I went to Hughes Quinn. Now, by the way, Larry tried to call me at school. I was going to Hughes Quinn Junior High School. I was in 9th grade. He called me at school, and he's like, well, it was really weird because the principal came and got me. He's like, hey, you got a phone call. Phone call.
Who does that?
Right.
I came to my class and said that.
Yeah. So he didn't tell me who, but I went down and answered the phone. And he's like, Chris. So he's like, yeah, your mama's really upset. She wants you to come back home, and I want you to come back home, and things are going to be different, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what I said, Shonte. I don't know if I told him I think about it, or if I told him no. I don't know. I don't remember that. I just remember I was really shocked. But I didn't go back. And there are 2 main reasons why I didn't go back. Number one, because I thought, I'm 14 years old. I thought it was going to be like a diss to my natural father. You know what I'm saying? If I was up and left. But number 2, though, I felt like it was either a setup to go back, you know what I'm saying? Because ain't no way I was going to trust this dude. Or he was going to not say nothing to me. And even at 14, I knew I needed raising. You know what I'm saying? I needed guidance, And I didn't want to put it, I really kind of felt a type of way for him because I didn't want to put him in a position where he felt like he couldn't say nothing to me. Okay. Now, maybe I'm giving him too much credit because I think eventually the kind of person he was, it was more going to be the setup. It might have started off being one thing, but it was going to be another resentment thing.
To appease your mama.
Yeah, that's my mama. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't a reflective type. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't very self-aware or anything like that. Yeah. So I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So I stayed where I was and, everything was everything. Now, mind you, I wasn't a kid. I didn't complain. I was never a complainer. I just rolled with it, So if we came home and the lights was out, lights was out. We had no place to stay. We had no place to stay. Sometimes I'd go weeks without being able to take a bath. I remember used to be at Lincoln and I could smell my own privates. You know what I'm saying? My drawers would be nasty, from dirt. You know what I mean? So from there, I just started living life. You start living life. And you thinking, when I got out of high school, my daddy was like, well, you got to go to school or you got to get out of here. Now, mind you, he ain't telling me that ain't nobody talking to me about college or anything like that. So I ended up going to the Air Force. And so I lived my life in a way that, I was always a cool guy. I mean, you met me, probably over 30 years ago. I was the same cat then, when you met me, pretty open, but still flying by the seat of my pants. You know what I mean? Because I always felt like the ground was going, like no matter how good things went, the ground was going to shift beneath me.
Just waiting on the other shoe to drop. That's
Waiting
what
on the other shoe to drop. And so I kind of lived that way. And so as a result, a lot of depression, a lot of self-esteem issues,
a lot of self-sabotage.
a lot of self-sabotage. Woo! Oh boy.
I'm just on my turn to talk.
Boy, hey, when you talk about self-sabotage, oh hell yeah. Hell yeah. I remember getting away from people who were really nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I remember dating a girl once, and I was like, let her go because I just couldn't take the niceness.
Mm-hmm. She was too good to you. She didn't tell you what.
You know what I'm saying? But I didn't realize that at the time. Like I couldn't have told you that's what it was. I just knew I was uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And but I knew I just felt like nice. You know what I mean? So man, so yeah, so you go through, man, all of this, a couple suicide attempts, and blah blah blah. And so where I exercise this demon is I used to always say to myself back in the day, yo, man, I ain't worried about going to South Bend, screw South Bend, blah blah blah. But a couple years ago, I said, you know what? Came to me, you need to go back. You need to go back. So I got a boy to South Bend.
I mean, to see somebody else, not to see your old house.
Nope.
It's going back.
I had to go by to close that book.
Yeah. Okay.
Including going back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a boy. Shout out my man Rob Laskowski. The first friend I met in 3rd grade.
That's a white boy South Bend name too, boy.
That's my Polish.
Rob.
Hey, listen, that is my Polish brother to this day. Okay, we've always stayed in. We lost touch for a while when I first moved to East St. Louis, but then after a few years we got back in touch. He was still living in the same house that his mom raised him in. His mom had passed. His mom was actually getting cancer treatments out at BJC, and I had no idea. So anyway, we were going to go a couple years ago, and my auntie passed, so we couldn't go. So I hit him up, man, about 2 months ago. I said, yo, Ski. I say, hey, man, this year I'm going to make it happen. Labor Day weekend, I'm coming to South Bend. And I'm like, I'm going to need the award tour. You know what I'm saying? Like with Muhammad, my man, you know what I mean? Going each and every place with the mic in my hand. And so I kind of told him a little bit about it. He was like, okay, that's cool. So the Saturday, going to Labor Day, I went, met up with him and his wife, Charlene, aka Charlie, who's like MacGyver. I have to tell you about that later. Renaissance woman to the nth degree. This girl can fix everything. She put your whole house together, I'm telling you. So I've got this Saturday. Sunday morning, we got up, had some breakfast, went to a breakfast spot that I went. This was so wild because like even leading up to driving there, okay, last couple years ago, I went to New York for the first time. And when I went to New York, it was like this excitement was so fertile to me that it was like, I want to see this city that I've always seen on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really real? Is it real or is it just legend? You know what I mean? And, will it be there when I get there? Like, that's kind of the person I am. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of got this big imagination. I'm a tourist, and so I was geeked about it. When I went to New York, I was like, man, I'm looking at the plane. They go to Statue of Liberty. It's really here. Oh, my God, I'm here. So that's how South Bend became, because it had been 43 years since I've been there. I was like, is it still there? Like, yeah, I see Notre Dame stuff and all of that, but like, is it still there, So even seeing them signs up there, man, like I was getting nervous. Seeing signs, Fort Wayne, South Bend, 31 miles away. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm almost there, So that Sunday morning, like I said, we go to this restaurant that I have been to a bunch of times, forgot all about this restaurant, but I remember the makeup of it. And I remember when we used to go there, I'm a big breakfast fan. So I remember we used to go there and always had really good breakfast. So I'm sitting in this place with Charlie and Rob. Like, dude, I've been here. This was my favorite breakfast spot back in the day. And so I asked the owners about it, and they told me what the name of it was back then. I was like, wow, I can't believe because I forgot about this place. Literally forgot about it. So after that, started going to the west side of South Bend, the old neighborhood, with some of the old schools, stomping grounds where I walked. When we pulled over to Liberty Street. So my heart's like, we go down the street. By the way, Larry doesn't live there anymore. He's dead. He sold the house in 2006. I'll get to that in a second. And I knew he wasn't there.
R.I.P. Larry.
Huh?
R.I.P. Larry.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. You know what you always told me about, if you ain't got nothing good to say about the dead, don't say nothing.
Oh,
he dead good.
It say you're supposed to speak good about the dead.
Okay, he dead.
He dead.
Good. Yeah. So
R.I.P. Rosa, she told me that before.
There you go. Okay, all right. Shout out, Rosa. So yeah, man. So I look at the house. I just staring at it. Just staring at it. And I got this fight going on in me because I want to go in the house. But I'm like, you know, they ain't been there.
I don't even know them people.
I don't even know them people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, do I ask or do I don't ask? But I had to ask. I felt like I had to ask. So I'm sitting there. I probably sat out there for 5 minutes, just in the car looking at the house. And then I got out and just stood there looking at it. I'm looking at the houses next door. I'm like, yeah, that's that same house. And the neighborhood, I'm just soaking it all in. You know, it's like a revelation. You know your boy. I want to knock on the door. It's car. That's cool. It's a couple cars in the driveway. Nobody answers the door. So this guy from across the street drives up, and he's like, yeah. You know, they're at church. The Mexican guy. The whole neighborhood's Mexican now. He's like, they're at church, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So we just sitting there looking, and then they pull up. They
Mexican too?
Yeah, the whole neighborhood's Mexican. And I say the South Bend had a large Mexican population when I moved there, for whatever reason, close to Chicago and all of that. But yeah, but now it's just like that. That's what it is now. So guy pulls up, they get out with their family, extend my hand, I introduce myself. I explain to them, you know, I just live in this house, 75 to 81, 43 years ago. I had a really hard time when I was here. I had some good times, you know, but I really had a hard time with the guy who owned it. And I'm just coming back, you know. And I was wondering if it was okay. You know, I explained to him, you know, he was like, okay, I understand. Like, it's okay for you if I walk in, you know, and look at it. So he was like, sure, man, no problem. But it still took him a long time to open the door, you know, like he was just standing there. So I'm sitting making conversation.
Make sure the house cleaned up. They don't know.
Right, yeah, man. I don't think they were concerned about that. They weren't concerned about that. So then I'm telling them about the house itself. I'm like, I know when you first open this side door, the basement's right there. You turn to the right. And then the basement is finished because I was here when the guy from across the street came and finished the basement. You know what I mean? Go to the right is the kitchen. Right to the left after that is the living room. You go straight down the hall. The left
is ingrained in your brain.
Huh?
That's ingrained in your brain.
Ingrained in my brain. First bedroom to the left is where Darcel was. The room to the back was mine. The room to the right in the back was my parents. And before that, bedroom to the right was the bathroom. So, you know, so he kind of knew what, you know, I knew what the hell I was talking about. And he was like, you know, he said he bought the house from Larry in 2006. And I was like, yeah, he's dead now. He's like, he's dead? I was like, yeah, he's dead, you know. So eventually open the door. I walk in the kitchen, and the first thing I noticed is everything looked smaller than it was when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Everything looked bigger then. And I looked at the living room, and then I kind of got choked up. And so, like, everything just started coming back to me, and I was like, there was red carpet right here. And he goes, oh, yeah, I pulled it up. I have a problem with this word. Linoleum. Linoleum floor in there. And I'm like, and so we had a red couch right there with the plastic on it and a white chair with the plastic on it. My mother's stereo was right here, you know. And so, I went through the house and I explained to him where I was and everything. His son has the room where I was. His other son has the other room where Garcelle was. Uh, and he let me take pictures and stuff. And then we went to the basement with him and his 3 kids and his wife. And his wife didn't even speak English. So they was explaining to her everything I was saying in Spanish. And she was just super nice, super nice. And so then I looked down at the finished area where the bar is, and Larry had this wooden like thing with his name on it behind the bar, and it's still there. So he goes like, just don't know why I didn't take it down. For whatever reason, I didn't take it down. So it was cool. I was in there for probably about 10 minutes. I thanked the man again. I just told him, man, you have no idea what you did for me. I just really appreciate it. So I went outside, took a couple more pictures, and man, you know what? I was good. I was good on South Bend. So after that, Rob, we went around to the old school, the old high school that I would have went to if I stayed. The high school that Darcel graduated from in 1980. Went to Notre Dame, took some pictures there, bought a couple souvenirs and everything, walked the yard, school was in. So even though it was Labor Day weekend, there was a lot of people out there still. So it was cool. So I say that to say, like, I can't wait to go back next time because I'm just going to enjoy myself. But I didn't realize until I really went how much weight that city and especially that house and those memories had on me. How those things affected decisions that I made, the way I looked at life. It was just like this cancer, in the back of my brain. It was like chains on me that I didn't even know I had. But then when I walked out that house, it was like, psh, they was gone. So when you talk about exercising demons, man, those South Bend demons is gone, man. Like I'm good on South Bend now.
So how does that equate into your relationships now? Because I'm gonna go back and talk to you about the Chris that I knew. Is it okay? I mean, I don't want to say anything. And
no, for sure. No, we in the trust tree.
Yeah. So the Chris that I knew, and I know it now when you hear like certain stories about your life, then I see that, to me, it was always a need for validation. You are the marrying kind. Shit, you married. Does America know how many wives you had? But you are the marrying kind. And from your first wife, I didn't know the second one that much until all the way up until now. It was like there was this need for them to validate you or to make you feel, a certain way. And I think a lot of your issues from some of the things that we've talked about in your previous marriages came from people not appreciating you and respecting you in the way that you felt like you should have been. And maybe they didn't know how, because sometimes people get together in trauma bond, and they're bonded by a level of trauma. But with you, there has always been an innate need to make sure that you overly loved, wanting love in return. Not it's, and this is just when I look at it, I'm like, okay, that's why he don't have no buffer when he hugs.
You don't have no what?
No buffer when you hug. Like it's different things like that, because people make one of two decisions when they've lived through something. They either become that thing that fucked them up, or they intentionally try to be something different. And you have intentionally tried to be something different, but still carrying the weight of that fucked up shit. And so that kind of bleeds over into relationships, because like for me, coming from, a father who's physically abusive to women, you either gonna be the person that get your ass whooped or the person who jump on the motherfucker first. And I got a sister that went that way. I'm jumping on you, and not realizing that this temperament and this violence is no different than what he was, and not understanding that, that's just as bad as being in a bad situation. And so you love real hard, And you love real hard because that's what you needed in your life. You needed to be loved on in that way. And you didn't get that during those formidable years, especially with your grandmother saying, yeah, no, I don't want to raise no kids. And then your father just going willy-nilly. And the dude calling saying, yeah, your mama mad, come on back. But he wasn't going to be different. He was just trying to appease her because she was probably so upset. And it probably really affected their marriage. But I see that needs bleeding over into your life, which makes you human. Again, you love so hard, and I appreciate it, and people who appreciate that do. But if you're loving the wrong people hard, that's when that shoe starts to drop. And so, how do you see it affecting the relationships that you've had throughout your male female relationships, and even any friendships that may have gone awry because of that?
Okay, well, I push back a little bit on. I don't think that it was just that I was the marrying kind. I think that would be a little simplified. I think that it goes back to what they say about the standard mommy issues. I had the mommy issues because, again,
I ain't want to say that, so I
no, that ain't no shame. No, it's no shame. I had mommy issues because
you crave a woman's attention.
Yeah, because my mother and I were always super close. Now we were always super close, but mind you, I didn't get a lot of attention from her growing up because in the midst of this trauma situation that I and my sister was dealing with, we both reacted in two different ways. So my way was to be reclusive. I used to hide in the closet. I used to go up to myself. I listened to my music, go to my room or whatever. Well, Darcel was just rebellious. So she was going to run away. She was going to disobey mama. She was going to stay out late. That was her way of coping. So we was dealing with a lot of the same stuff, but we were just dealing with it in different ways. So she got all the attention because she was always into some trouble. Okay. I was the good kid, who hardly ever got in trouble, but I didn't get no attention.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
I didn't want to crave attention. I don't because it sounds but that's not what
I don't even think it's a
right. It's not what it is. It's a mommy issue, like you said.
It's a mommy issue, and I think that this is not ununique to any of the mammal species. You know what I'm saying? You can look at cubs of lion cubs. You know what I mean? Like some of them are gonna want need a little attention if they don't. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of their development. To prepare them for the world that they're going to live in. So, but the part you said about my therapist, Miss Francis, had once said to me, and this is when it kind of hit me. She was like, "Were you ever upset with your mom for not defending you?"
Yeah.
And and I was like, "What you mean?" You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna defend my mama to the end. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And she was like, "No, she didn't. She didn't set up for you." And I was like, so I'm like, so even when so circle back a little bit. I left in August. Well, I left in July. My mother left in November. So she needed to get out of there too. It's a whole nother story behind that, but I'm not going to tell her story. But I'm just saying that she too wasn't happy.
Right.
But I think I was the straw that, you know what I mean? I was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. But I always defended my mother because I felt that she did the best she could. You know what I mean? I never blamed her. You know what I'm saying? And I just explained this to my therapist too. I never blamed my mother. And she said, well, it wasn't really about blaming. It's just about accountability. Like, it was still her job, even if she didn't know how to do it. And I was able to relate that to myself with my own kids. How sometimes if I let my own kids down, even if I wasn't equipped, it was still my responsibility.
Right. And you got to own it.
You can own it. Right. You can own it. So I was able to say, yeah, okay. Yeah. So it wasn't that I was the marrying kind, but when I was in relationships then in that unhealthy state, what it really was just looking to get what I didn't get from my mother.
You love really, really hard because you wanted that, you craved that love.
I love hard because I craved it and I knew what it was like to not get it. Innately. Yep. So I didn't want people around me to
not feel that.
Right. So
I miss you a lot.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's the more accurate description. The difference now is because the difference now is that I'm healthy. Okay. When I went through the last suicidal thing in 2009, after that I went to group therapy, then I went to one-on-one therapy. Shout out to Miss Frances J. Thomas, rest in heaven, who really taught me how to love myself, who taught me to accept myself for who I really am. Because again, I was that same kid. I was the same kid that now you look at and say, man, you love hard. You're a great guy. Well, then it was you're a punk. You get picked on. You know what I'm saying? You soft. You're a Twinkie. All the little things I used to get called when I was a kid, because whatever you're dealing with at home, you bring it to school. And so they kind of sniffed me out like a bloodhound. You know what I mean? And I was quite ashamed then. I used to want to be something else. I used to want to be hard. I want to be hard. Oh, you know what I mean? Kind of wanted to be what my stepfather, was trying to make me to be. But I just wasn't that kid. I was just me, and I just had a big imagination. I had a lot. Always love people.
Yeah.
And I always had an affinity to see other people succeed and be happy and stuff like that. So I was just that kid. But so now, yeah, the difference now is, hey, if I need to be by myself, I can be by myself. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I know my own value, I know my own worth, and I'm content with me. I'm content with
It
me.
shows.
I didn't need. I don't need. I mean, it's cool to be partnered up and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's cool not to be alone per se, but at the same time, if I need to be, I can. I have before, and like I said, the difference now is I'm just really healthy. I have a great perspective on life, and I got things that I love about myself and contributions that I'm into, whether it's my writing, whether it's my podcast or whatever, that keeps me occupied, that I find fulfillment in, right? So even when I release a podcast, there's a great sense of fulfillment in it. When I'm helping people, or I feel like I have a great game on Friday night at the football game, my crew did a really good job. Well, that's a great sense of fulfillment for me. So those things now, I got a whole plethora of things that fill my bucket, as opposed to just having a love interest to try to fill that bucket. And, unfairly to them to try to do all those things that, it would have been impossible to do.
But that shows, and it shows your growth has shown a lot, especially coming out of the last relationship that you were in prior, and seeing you, at first kind of suffer through it and try to push to make that work. And it was very, very clear that it wasn't going to work. The shoe been dropped. And, you still, we're trying to make that work, but something kind of clicked in you. I can't even say it, because when you broke, it's like it was a break. It was a clean break. And I don't know what happened, in behind the scenes between then and the lovely marriage you have now. But the growth, your face looked different. You looked like it had come up, and you were more into the things that you really liked, instead of trying to be into the things that she liked, or trying to drag her into the things that you like. You were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be on my own. And I used to be one of those people who never wanted to eat alone. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I'll go to I'll take the shit to go before I sit down in a restaurant and be by myself. And I was probably 40 years old before I ever stopped and went. I would eat in the car, whatever. I said, you know what? I got to force myself. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my hands? Who am I going to talk to? Because I'm, a talkative person. But once I did it, I loved it. Like, oh, this isn't bad. Okay, I see why people do it, and I began to lean into that. And it's been good watching you lean into the things that bring you joy. Like this, because this is a labor of love. It really is. I don't know what I'm doing. And,
neither do I.
but you're doing it. But you're doing it. And that's the beauty of it all, and all of the refing that you do, and when you want to go see this concert or do this thing, you do it, and you do it, regardless. And that's been really cool to see, and I kind of wish we lived closer, because we'd be doing more stuff together. and enjoying that. But that age and that wisdom, once it kicks in and you find yourself, I hate to use that cliche term, but you truly find yourself, then you be like, why the fuck did I spend my life caring about what somebody else thought, or wanting somebody to love me that couldn't give me, that love. So how do you feel now? Like where you are now and doing the things that you love to do, what is it that you see going forward? What is your vision for yourself in this new weight that's lifted up off you?
Yeah, man. So even when I was in my last relationship, I was healthy then. I think I'm more healthy now, but just because you grow and develop, that's been many years ago. But yeah, I was healthy then. I had a great sense of reality then, like in just acceptance. That's one of the things my therapist taught me was radical acceptance. Like you don't have to judge a thing. You know what I mean? Like you can accept a thing without judging it or placing how you feel about it on it. Just accept it. And I think, you're right that I still do love hard. I don't know how much of that is my background versus my nature. I don't know for sure. I know I'm satisfied with it. I know I'm satisfied with it because part of my living is to give. Okay. And to live this adventure and to spread the adventure, so other people can say, hey, my life is an adventure too. My greatest joy is seeing other people succeed. You know, uh, so the way I see it now, it's just cool, man. Like even problems and stuff, even problems and challenges, even though they're not easy, even though they're uncomfortable at times, I'm still able to look at them like, man, it's an adventure. And even when I'm doing well or if I'm in a good space, like I'm noticing now I'm in a good space and I'm gonna ride that. So back in the day, if I was in a good space,
waiting on the shoe.
You wait on the shoe. I couldn't even really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I couldn't really enjoy it. You know what I mean? But now everything is relative. You know what I'm saying? Fall, winter, spring, summer. Everything has its place. I always talk about the trees. Like they be like, like I always say, I worship the same God that tree worships. You know what I mean? And no one has to tell that tree when to bear its fruit, when to bear the leaves, when the leaves supposed to fall off. If you're in that kind of climate, it's gonna do what it do. And so I felt like in all seasons, I'm gonna have to do what I do. And to me, even the hard times, they're just opportunities to develop, to learn. Because sometimes the most challenging times is when I really dig in. It's really when I really dig in and start being curious about what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and how I'm going to deal with this situation. And there's always an opportunity to grow. So I'm like well aware now. So now I'm just aware. I'm hyper aware. And, even if I feel like crap, you know what? There are times when I feel like crap. I'm just going to veg out. It's cool. I don't judge it.
And that's okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, I would judge it. You know what I mean? I need to be happy, especially like in my faith, because you was thinking, well, you believe in God, you need to blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And feel this certain type of way. And you ain't thankful if you don't, if you complain and talk about, no, man. There's a time and a season for everything. So you know what? If I'm having a crappy day, it's a crappy day. It's cool. If I'm gonna have me a drink or take me a gummy or something, you know what I mean, to veg out, it is what it is. I'm cool. I'm not gonna stay there. You know what I'm saying? So I know that there's a time, even when I'm in my own feelings, I sit there, I'm curious about it, I resonate with it. You know what I mean? I let it flow through me. You know what I mean? And then I get something out of that, and then I'll be like, okay.
I be having to tell Cornell that, what's wrong? Can you just give me a minute? Because just because you are in a bad space or in a shitty mood, we not like those people who want to go fuck up everybody else's day because we in a bad space. We just want to be, just kind of sit back and take a moment and live through it. I always tell people you get about 24, 48 hours of wallow in self-pity and then it's time to get up, and that's the time I give myself, like 24, 12 hours, however much time as I got in order to wallow in it. And that's what makes us human. And that's why we have to stop acting like we are so perfect. Our lives are so perfect. Stop faking for the gram or because when you start lying to other people, you begin to believe the lie you're telling to yourself. And if we keep doing that, then we never grow up and grow out of it. When we go back to even Prince and knowing what we know now, through this article and looking at his life, on the back end, on the other side, you see him starting to, with like you saying, just come resonate with himself and come to grips with who he is and who he was. And when you watch him, and I don't know what the documentary shows beyond those parts, when you watch him just there, he started going out more. He started bringing more people into his circle, having more one-on-one situations, just walking around, being a regular person, being open, helping other people as much as he could, bringing women up and lifting them up and doing all these things, because now I just feel like he just came to this, I need to come through and walk through this, and now I'm comfortable to be able to do that. And so all of this is a part of being human, and it's a testimony to being human. And we never stop growing, and we never stop learning, and we never stop fucking up. But
sure,
when you become aware of yourself, then you be like, yeah, I tripped. And not in that moment sometimes, but yeah, I tripped. And then you're able to do that. So I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you.
Now, let me tell you something else too that just hit me, and I did want to cover that when we were talking about this. This is very important. Maybe it'll help somebody, but one of my biggest issues, Shonte, back in that day, was I felt like everything was performance based for me. Okay, because again, my stepfather never thought I was good enough, blah 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 blah, and you go through all this rejection, so I felt like I had to do things to be acceptable. Okay. I had to be nice. I had to be productive. So, and it's funny because the way I am now in my job, in my refereeing or what have you, I'm a producer. I'm a producer because I like excellence. You know what I mean? I like excellence in art, in television. I'm going to make the biggest critic, if I see a show that's got sloppy and lazy writing, you know what I mean? So I love excellence. I love to perform. But the difference now between now and then is I felt like I was always running to keep up with the performance to be acceptable.
Yep.
So even if I was dating multiple women for instance, it would be like, because, well, if this one knew what I really felt inside of who I really am, then they ain't gonna really like me. If they didn't really know how much I really hurt or how empty I feel, you know what I mean? How inadequate I am. You know what I mean? Or what if I come up short? What if I come up short? That old gospel song, 99 and a half won't do. You know what I mean? So now I've learned to balance that. Now I'm cool. Like, I'm cool on performing. I know that my standard is of excellence. I'm going to perform because I'm cold.
And you don't have anything to prove.
I'm cold, right? But I ain't got shit to prove. So, and it's funny. So me and my football crew, a lot of times, we'll get evaluated and stuff. And sometimes guys get a little nervous. We be going over things, and we're going to have this evaluator, blah, 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 blah. And I be telling them, man, I'm the first to tell them. They be looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, man, I don't give a damn what none of them people think. I care about what you think because you're on my team. If y'all think I did a good job, you know what I mean, and that I got your back, I'm good. If they think it, that's cool. But my first responsibility is to myself to make sure that I'm up on this thing. And if I mess up, I'm the first person to own it. I'm the first person, hey guys, my bad. Man, I blew that guy. That guy fumbled that ball. You know what I'm saying? And I blew the whistle too soon. You know what I mean? I'm the first person that's going to own it, So I'm cool with performing, but I don't base my value based on performance. And what I am resident about, if I have any trauma still, it's anybody who's judging me on my performance. You see what I'm saying? In other words, judging my value on performance. So those people, I'm like,
and this country, these humans in social media, thank you, did this. everything is based on performance, but we're all performing. We don't meet the real person. We meet this representative, but it's based on what they think is performance, and their judgment of performance is so skewed because it's based on fake. It's based on bullshit that they see, out with everybody being fake. It is the most freeing thing in the world to not care what people think. We care to an extent.
Oh yeah, I care about people, my crew.
We
like
care
to respect. Yeah, I care about what you think.
Right.
We because you are my crew. So if you think something, then I probably need to listen to it. Because number one, you give a damn about me. You do anything for me. Mm-hmm. Your family's always been there for me. So if you got something to say, or if I'm messing up and, well, I'm going to listen to that. Okay, I care because that's my crew. My crew helped shape me. Right. That's a difference because we're not independent. We're not codependent. We're interdependent. We vibe off of each other. You know what I'm saying? But you just got to know who your crew is. And you know what I mean? And if you know who your crew is, and then, they're outskirts of the crew, you know what I'm saying? I guess Jesus had a certain amount, then he had a certain amount, and then he had the 12, you know what I'm saying? He had the 3. Yeah. So there are levels. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about
you can get some from any level. You can get some from any level, but as far as the people who I care about who really, I'm never gonna be the person, I don't care what nobody thinks. No, I care about what certain people think. But
you don't even know how
but those people have qualified themselves.
Right. But you don't know how many people
to enter in and our age say whatever to me.
You don't know how many people our age actually give a fuck about what somebody they don't know thinks. It's been so profoundly crazy to me, especially in politics and looking around at these performative people. They really hang their hat on what somebody thinks that don't benefit them in any way, don't pay their bills, don't do anything. And that's the part I'm talking about is freeing, because I don't give a damn what nobody think of me. I do not. I care about the people, my mama and them, y'all, we care about that core group of people. We consider what they say. We take that into heart because we know they want the best for us. But outside of that core group of people, you'd be surprised how many 50, 55-year-old people care about what TikTok think. And I think that is dangerous, and that's why we have a lot of mental health issues, why we got folks who need more therapy now and who haven't come into themselves. And so, yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm excited.
So here's the thing though. So here's where I am with that. And this is why I don't fall into prey to that, because now that I've had suffered and did all the suffering I did for all these years, then it took me until I was in my 40s to really reach the manhood that I wanted to reach, and start really loving myself and know who I am. Now I'm all into this adventure. So it's a race. And the race is to get as much as I can, to live as much of this adventure as I can, to spread as much love, joy, peace, knowledge, understanding. Like you said, now I love hard, but it's with a purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's with a purpose. And so now it's to empty myself of everything before I get out of here.
Ride the motherfucker till the wheels fall off.
What you just said.
I say it all the time.
So that's the goal now, right? So no days are guaranteed. We all tend to think about tomorrow. I'm looking at my schedule all the time, what school I got to go to. I'm over here. I got field hockey tomorrow. Then I got football on Friday. Then I got softball on Saturday and Sunday. Field hockey Sunday night. These are all facts. It's not just me.
Then the Lord will be like,
and volleyball on Monday. So these are all facts. I just nailed down my schedule, outside of my 9 to 5. So we tend to think ahead, but I don't think that those days are guaranteed. You know what I mean? I'm going to Singapore in November. I'm going to be like a little kid. I went to El Salvador. I was like a little kid. Like these cultures, these people, like I'm soaking it all in. You know what I mean? This is an adventure. You know what I mean? And so I ain't got time to be caring about what insignificant people think, because I'm trying to, I don't want to die an idiot. I don't want to die worried about the wrong things. I want to die empty, where they say, man, he put it out there. He gave it all. This is a guy who learned from his stuff. He got better. He learned. He did the damn thing. And I want my kids, my grandkids, to look at it and say that. You know what I'm saying? I want the next generation to be a little bit better because of my hardships and my growth, you know, and my ability to be open about it and not be shamed. And don't get me wrong, Shonte, sometimes I am a bit shamed. Sometimes I am, but
you're human.
Or not even shame, a little embarrassed, maybe. Not shame, embarrassed. But I forced through that. Yeah. I forced through that. Because again, it's not like you just get rid of that stuff altogether. It may be a little 2% in there. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy, I ain't gonna be asking me this. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. It's like, okay, you gonna love me or you're not. And if you're judging me again on my performance, then that lets me know where you are. And I'm okay with that. You can do that. But that's your thing. It's not going to be my thing. Because if we knew all of your shit, whoever that person is judging me, then you know what I'm saying? And I ain't even worried about it because I still see you as the human. Just like OJ, just like Prince, just like Martin Luther King, just like everybody who you look up to, respect, or who you became disappointed in. You know what I mean? Yeah. Freak off, man. You know, with 1,000 bottles of, you know, oil or whatever. You know what
you need that many at one time? What you got? If you flying out, like you got all of them in New York, and then you were freaking off in the Bahamas.
You just got to make sure you got it on hand, man. You got to make sure you got it on hand, man. You just never know. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have it. You know what I mean? Why go to the store when you can you can be the store?
That grown ass man called it a freak off in real life. I'm just
a real Southern District of New York Attorney General.
And then change the fucking laws. He ain't getting out of jail. You don't live here no more, did he?
So before we wrap up, we got a couple dedications we want to do. Was there any other questions you wanted to ask me or discuss on this topic?
Well, I got one more thing I want to say. Yeah. You know, I'm literary. In our art, we share passions for art, but one of them is literary. And my aha moment came in the form of Henry David Thoreau. He wrote Walden Pond. I don't know if you know who he is. So anyway,
I've heard there's
a passage in his book, Walden Pond, about why he went to the woods. And when I heard it, I thought, yeah, let me quit giving a fuck about what people think. And it sounded like riding motherfucker till the wheels fell off. Do you have a moment, may I? That I remembered since I was 17 years old.
Break it all down, let it be broke.
He said, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and to see if I could not learn what it had to teach. And not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I do not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor do I wish to practice resignation unless absolutely necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad cloth and to shave close, to drive life into the corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. And if it proved to be mean, why then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world. Or if it were sublime, to be able to recognize and give a true account of it in my next excursion. For most men, it appears to me, have a strange uncertainty about life, whether it's of the devil or of God, and have come to the marvelous conclusion that is the chief end of man here, to glorify God and enjoy him forever. So, with that, drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. Don't come to die and discover you had not lived. In other words, ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off. And so, listening to you, that's what you're doing. You are living life, and I appreciate you for that. Let's go.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time and your interest in this subject. So before we go, guys, we lost some icons recently, and I wanted to talk about a few of them. So the very latest is Tito Jackson.
Tito Jackson is dead, children.
Tito Jackson. So when Tito died, like there are times when there's a death And it's like it could be a star or something, and you may feel some type of way about it. You may not, you know what I mean? But you didn't never met the person. I never met Tito Jackson. But man, when I heard about him, it was kind of like Natalie Cole. It was like Prince. It was like Michael. It's
Yep.
like these are people I grew up on. And I was telling my boy Larry Blue, we was talking about this the other day. I was like, man, when I think about it, man, when I was a baby, Tito was there. When I was a toddler, Tito was there. When I was a little youngster running around, Tito was there. When I was a teenager, he was there. When I'm a little man, he's there. And he's like this staple because Tito wasn't concerned about being, out front. He was never, he was just there. He was steady playing that guitar. And mind you now, he was a very accomplished guitar player. And he got that way when he snuck his father's guitar. His dad was a musician and he sneak and play it. His mom knew that he was sneaking and playing it, but she was like, yeah, you can play it. So he broke a string one time.
His daddy beat his ass.
Came home, whooped his ass. But after he whooped his ass, he said, all right, just show me what you got. So he started playing and stuff, and he gave him the guitar, and thus the Jackson 5, started. I'm going to give my quick thoughts, and then you give yours. Again, a very accomplished guitar player. Extremely funky licks, behind many of his beats. And when he really started to shine, really, where you could really see his talent, it was like when they were not the Jackson 5, but when they were the Jacksons.
Yeah.
So you got Going Places, you got Destiny. So you look at Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, when he's like, dun, 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 dun.
Fortune.
I mean, all of that was just like them licks, and them chords and them hooks in the backbeat. Man, it was just steady and something. It was unassuming, but it just carried everything, right? And if you really want to go, you really want to see Tito's greatest, to me, his greatest display, album-wise, is Triumph. The 1980 album, where they got like Heartbreak Hotel.
Oh, that's my
Walk
favorite.
Right Now.
Yeah.
I guess it's called This Place Hotel. Walk Right Now. Can You Feel It? Man.
Can you feel it? The video.
So, like when you look at the studio, these studio credits, they had the greats like, Paul Jackson Jr. helping out, all the usual suspect. But this is Tito. This is Tito. I don't understand your ways, all of them jams, man. That thing is bumping. It's bangers from front to back, from beginning to end, all in the middle, spreading out. I mean, this is Tito. Tito was laying these. Nobody was playing this stuff like him. Nobody. What do you think about Tito? What came to your mind?
Mike was such a prolific artist. It's the fight between Michael Jackson and Prince. He was such a prolific singer and performer. That it overshadowed the greatness of his brothers. Even Jermaine had decent albums. Centipede by Reeve, and of course Janet has now, catapulted. But it's usually those quiet ones that actually are the heartbeat to a group, or that actually are carrying the group. Because Mike wasn't no writer, y'all, and Mike wasn't no producer, y'all. He was just a great singer and performer. And I think it like you said, it was Tito that was carrying it musically. And without that, I don't know that Mike would have been as great as he was had he not come up with his brothers and through the Jacksons and the Jackson 5, because they helped to shape and mold, who he was. And then Tito, even with his children and the 3 T's, and he always lived quietly and modestly. And in the background, he was okay with that. And I think he was probably the only one that didn't get nothing else done to his face either, as far as I could tell, because he maybe a little nose job. Everybody got rid of the nose, but he was very comfortable in his own skin. It seemed as though, because he lived a very, very quiet and intentional life, still was touring. And yeah, of all of them, Tito, man, I love me some Tito Jackson.
Man, look, yeah, I think what you said is true, that he was comfortable in his own skin, and you always saw that he was just so steady. He was so steady. If you didn't hear the licks and the hooks, you wouldn't know he was there.
Yeah.
He was just so content with being he knew his place, and he loved his brothers. He loved performing with them, and that was all he needed. So, shout out to Tito Jackson, man. I gotta give you your flowers.
Say what's up to Mike.
Yeah, now so the next person is we're gonna talk about Frankie Beverly, which is why I got this white get up on. This is a shout out to Frankie Beverly. Now, Frankie, what you got to understand about him is staple for generations of Black folk, myself. And although he was definitely
your life.
Go ahead. What was you saying?
Soundtrack to your life.
Soundtrack to your life, man. And so, although, he got love all over the country, but, St. Louis has always been a special place for Frankie. St. Louis always showed up for him and gave him love. First time I saw Frankie in St. Louis at the Fox Theater. He was supposed to open for Toni Braxton when she had her first album out. She was sick. They played for 2.5 hours and tore the damn thing up. Okay. And then they came back when she finally got well and opened for her again and jammed that thing out. And then I saw him again at the Family Arena. That was like a party. And, and so the thing about Frankie Beverly is, there's songs with great lyrics, beats, production and so on. You got all that. But what's different about Frankie Beverly and Maze is it's the most enduring quality.
Yeah.
It goes back to art, which is how it makes us feel when we hear these songs and when we recite them at a concert. You know what I'm saying? And then, so it's like a picnic. It's like a backyard picnic that all your friends came over. Your auntie Nim was there. Your Uncle Bobo. You know what I'm saying? Your
Uncle Willie.
Yeah, and then the messages in the music, like he's hitting us with these messages, of positivity and even rebuke. So when he's on We Are One, he's like, I can't understand why we treat each other in this way. And he's talking to us, taking up time with the silly games we play. And then he's go back to when it's all said and done. We are one. And that's the anthem. So, I mean, so like Parliament, they got anthems like One Nation, Knee Deep. You know what I'm saying? Who got more anthems than Frankie Beverly? Happy Feelings, Golden Time of Day, Joy and Pain. You know what I mean? Everything was relatable, digestible, meets us right where we are. Even taking us to church with the song, I Want to Thank You. You know what I mean? Frankie made you feel like you was with him and he was with you. He wasn't just performing on the stage. He gathered us.
Yeah.
He gathered us like he was our big uncle, our OG, and he ushered us into this good time. That's how I feel about Frankie, and I'm sure many others. But obviously, again, I want you to tell me, what he means to you, what he meant to you.
Soundtrack of your childhood. Everybody, when a certain song comes on, I posted this, I think this morning or yesterday, about how therapy, and they're doing this neuroscience research about how music can really help with your therapy. And that's one of, they're really testing music being, because it invokes a feeling. It kicks your endorphins in. It puts you in a place. And there's a Frankie Beverly song that when it come on, it puts you in a mental space. It puts you in the family reunion with some of them, or at a wedding with another thing. I saw him twice, and quite by accident. I didn't pay to see Frankie Beverly. I'm a Prince fan. My best friend is a Gerald Levert fan, and he opened for Gerald Levert quite frequently. And we sat in the front row both times. And it was amazing. And not just how well he sang, he's such a smooth cat. Like, He the coolest uncle you ever want to hang.
Yes.
He the one with the money and all the women, but he don't really. He just lives unassuming. He that cool uncle like that. And the way he worked the room and the way it made you feel, and the electricity that went through a room. When he sang his songs, and you could just feel the love, not just that he had for what he was doing, but you could feel people love him. And so he created, like you said, We Are One, and Happy Feelings, and all these ones that when we are in these spaces mentally and we hear that song, it does something to our brain, and it calms us. It's very soothing, and
soothing.
Creates
yes.
Changes
What a great description.
In your brain. And yeah, I really hate that I didn't see. I knew he was on farewell tour and he was here, and I really hate that I didn't take the time, to go and see him. But I am glad that I did, in the times that I did. And so, real quick thing, I decided, and I love concert. You and I love music, and I said when Tina Marie came to St. Louis and I didn't go, I'm like, shit, I'm gonna catch her the next time. And she died like a month later. And then, Rick James died too. And I said, when Rick James and Tina Marie died, I'm like, every fucking concert I want to go to, I'm going to. And I've been able to do that. And that is the one concert I was like, shit, I should have went to. But yeah, he was the greatest. He was the greatest. They're doing a white thing here on Friday. Everybody wear white.
Here too.
Yeah.
Here too.
So I'm going to do it. I'm very excited about it. So yeah, R.I.P. Frankie.
Yeah, when you think about it, so the Jackson 5, when they were the Jackson 5, they did cross over, and white folks like them. When the Jacksons were the Jacksons, their sound, they started off, they were with Gamble and Huff when they did Going Places. And so their sound really went back to R&B, same with Destiny, same with Triumph, and then they kind of did the thing with Victory. They kind of went a little more, pop, if you will, with the Mick Jagger, State of Shock and all of that. But the thing about Frankie was always ours.
Always Frankie.
Like, he was never homogenized. Like, they wasn't coming for Frankie. We was coming for Frankie. And so he didn't even have to have any more albums. I remember he used to always talk about, we're making some new music, but it takes time, But the thing is they didn't have to make no damn music.
And he didn't win awards either.
They could sing the same stuff over and over again, and it was cool. Yeah. We came to hear, that's the golden time of day. We came to hear joy, or we came to, how we get on the thing and we go, there. Yeah. Then they go, doom, 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 doom. You know what I'm saying? We be on, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he just ushered us, man. And it was a big deal, man. So yeah, yo. Shout out to Frankie Beverly. I'm gonna wear my white. I'm gonna show up. I got a game Friday night. I got a football game. I'm showing up in my white. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do.
I like it.
So the last artist we want to get to is an actor who had a very commanding voice and a presence that puts us a little bit in the mind of a Paul Robeson. And that was the beloved brother James Earl Jones.
Mufasa died in real life.
Mufasa died in real life, man. So we know him, from so many movies. Most people know him from Darth Vader or Terrence Mann in Field of Dreams, Leon Carter, Big Ol' Long and Traveling All-Stars. One of my favorites, King Jaffe Jafar, right?
King Jaffe.
Good 1 and 2. I don't know what your favorite is, but my favorite movie of James Earl Jones, first of all, he's had so many great movies, man. Such a great thespian. He's the guy that you believed him in everything he was in. You believed he was that guy. He embodied the part. But my favorite movie of his happened to be the same movie that I heard him out of his own mouth say was his favorite. That movie was Claudine, opposite Diane Carroll.
That is your favorite movie for sure.
That is my favorite movie, but I saw him say that was the favorite movie he's ever done himself. I wish I could have seen him in Fences, but on Broadway, never, obviously I never did. Well, not obviously, but I never did. But one funny story about Claudine that he told that just tickled me was there's this scene where they were in the bed together. And you can look at it and say, okay, they was naked. Well, in reality, they were really naked. Like they was really butt naked in that part of the film. Yeah. And
Oh,
yeah. So in between shoots, Diane Carroll gets an attitude. You know why she got an attitude? Ask your boy why she got an attitude.
why she got attitude?
Because James did not appear excited enough.
His weenie wasn't hard.
James
James had coochie a dime a dozen.
So she's like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? So between shoots, she got an attitude with James. She's like, what's wrong with me? You ain't, you don't see this? No. So I thought to myself, okay, well, that's because that brother was a pro. You know what I'm saying? He was in this mode, right? Or he could have been thinking about Sidney Poitier, but that's another story.
Don't you be talking about James Earl Jones like
I'm just saying, her and Sidney had that thing, so long. He could have been thinking about that, but I just thought that was so funny. But no, man, just again, like even like with Tito and James, it's pieces of your childhood, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's pieces of your childhood, and it goes to your mortality. And again, while we talk about, riding this thing till the wheels fall off, and living your best life purposefully, with intention, because it is a short time. It's a short time. These people mean a lot to me. So yeah. So before we go, man, your thoughts on James Earl Jones? What did you like him in?
Mufasa is dead, children. Whilst he was an amazing actor, and I liked him in everything that he ever did. I love when he was King Jafar. The what he brought to the Lion King, and I love it because my kids loved it. Like Courtney, she watched that movie every single day, and for him to have such a commanding, deep voice, to be such a great voice actor, I think it really it was so manly. Like his voice was so manly and commanding, and I felt safe when he was talking. He could have sold me ice and I would be an Eskimo, because the way he said it yes. was so awesome. And even with Darth Vader, like you can close your eyes and you can hear his voice and you'll know who it is. Like he was that, he had such a spirit, and he seemed, and watching him do interviews mostly, he seemed just very, very comfortable. Like you felt safe around him. I don't know if him and Sydney, but I given the thoughts around it, he still made you feel like really, really believable. Like that voice really brought you somewhere. So yeah, I'm not lying. The Lion King voice was everything. Like being somebody's father and having, even though it was a cartoon, he really protected his son, and he really, was so manly in it. So yeah, I hate that Lion King's my favorite, but Lion King's my favorite. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, no, it's nothing wrong with that.
My kid loved it so much. I mean,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
So much.
So for those of you who don't know, Diane Carroll and Sidney Poitier dated for quite a while when Sidney was married, and he just would never leave his wife. So yeah, as we sip the wine, but so that was I'm sure it's because the brother was a pro. You know what I'm saying? He was a pro. But no,
can we give honorable mention to Richard Simmons though? I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, let's talk about Richard Simmons. What's up?
No, and only because I love me some damn Richard Simmons, sweating to the oldies. I was fat, y'all. I'm still a little chunky, but when you fat, it does something to you. And I was so mad when he died. I'm like, Donald Trump's still alive and Richard Simmons is dead. Can we do a trade? Oh God, I'm gonna get canceled.
The death delegation would like to make a trade.
You know what I'm saying? Richard was so like I know a lot of people, but I also you grow up, like with Frankie Beverly, you grow up with R&B when you're a kid. But if you love music, when he did Sweat Into the Oldies, and he brought back all these songs from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and I have my little ass up there and I'll be sweating to the oldies. But he was so giving, he gave a lot of his time. He helped a lot of people lose weight. He was very just overly giving. And I wanted to give a shout out because his childhood traumas made him be that overly loving person. He was always very open about that, and how his childhood made him really want to help other people not feel the way that he felt when he was younger. So yeah, I mean, if the death delegation could make a trade.
Death delegation, man. Look, can we talk to the Reaper? Can we get the Reaper on the phone?
Get him on speed dial. Get him on speed dial. I got about 13 of the motherfuckers you could have took, except for James Earl Jones and Frankie Beverly and Richard Simmons and Tito, not Tito.
Yeah, so no, man. So first of all, congratulations again on the food truck. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. I thank you for doing this pod with me, and also thank you for, regardless of the state that I was in, you've always loved me, you've always looked out for me, you've always treated me the same. And for you, I know it was never about performance. So if I was doing great, you was there. If I was DJ doing bad, you was there, and you never made me feel any type of way about it. I'm glad to be your brother and healthy. I'm glad that you was able to see this other side of me that I didn't check out of here before. I'm glad you're able to see the manifestation of all this now. You know what I'm saying? All this fabulousness now. You know what I mean? I appreciate that.
We love in spite of, and I've been through some shit too. One day we'll have a podcast on my traumas.
You know what? And it'll help somebody. Hopefully, it'll help somebody. So if I have a message to this, I know it was a lengthy podcast, so I thank you guys who've taken the time to stay with us. But yeah, I would just encourage you guys to, man, whatever you got in your life, whatever traumas that you had, face them head on. And if you need help with it,
what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I mean, the worst has probably already happened, to be honest.
Exactly.
You made it. You know what I mean? Just like I was that little boy, one thing about it, I made it. And as Viola Davis taught me in her book, I learned to love that little boy. I had to go back and care for that little boy who was hurt. I used to run away from him. You know what I mean? I used to avoid him. Now I go back and I can love on that dude because that dude made it. He was courageous to leave at the age of 14 from his mother and his big sister, whom he really loved, and stretch out on his own. It's something I had to do, but I made it. And so you too can make it. Whether if you need to see somebody, talk to somebody, do that. Don't let your life go down the drain, man. You want to ride your stuff out and till the wheels fall off. And you got something to add. You got something that I need. You got something that everybody's got their own audience. You got people who are looking at you, who are counting on you, who are dependent on you to be your best self, who can't wait. And then there are people that you haven't even met yet. And once you come into yourself and really be who you're supposed to be and live free, then those doors open and these opportunities gonna come to you that you might have always dreamed about, thought about, or not even dreamed about or thought about. And now all of a sudden they're here, but you're ready for them now. Don't be afraid to succeed. Don't be afraid to succeed. A lot of us are afraid to fail. See it in basketball. Who wants to take that shot? So and so. They don't want to take the shot. Why they don't want to take the shot? They're afraid to fail, right? Don't be afraid to fail. But most of all, don't be afraid of what success could look like in your life. I can tell you, me personally, I was definitely have felt fear of succeeding, which caused procrastination and all sorts of other stuff. But I'm ready to win. I'm ready to win. And you have to determine what winning is for you. It ain't all about in the marketplace. It ain't all about being on TV and all of that. You have to define what success is for you. You have to know what your purpose is. Write it down. I wrote my purpose down. I know exactly what I'm here to do. and yours may be totally different than mine. It's fine. I can't function, if you ain't doing your thing. You need to be doing your thing, and then we can be comparing and contrasting and vibing, and we're gonna learn from each other. We all gonna come up together because you are being your greatest self.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just encourage everybody to do that, man. Get free, man. Do what it takes to get free.
Yep.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you. We see you next time on the For Real Though Show. Rate us, review us. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for the length of the time. I don't even know how long it's been. I know it's been quite a while, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you, Shonte. And we see you guys.
Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Yeah. Sharing all that stuff too. Holla at your boy. Peace.